good morning to everybody. Say good morning in our chat. And let's start. Okay. This is not your name. These are your names. Wait a minute. Okay.
Daniela, I cannot see the.
Yes. Now
yes.
You see that. Yes.
Oh yes.
They do not want to cooperate. They want to help our friends. No slide anymore, please. So let's get through. Be courageous. Okay, so we are at the end of our organizing a village, a successful reception, the village as tourist destination. We have already done those parts. Today we concentrate on the cooperation between public and private sectors, but we really concentrate on case history, on the construction of attractive places that has been done in villages. Not only through innovation, of course, but supporting the existing territorial vocations. So we already saw this slide. I only want you to remind that we are in a moment of reflection on the theme of community. We have a perspective of regeneration of society. There is a strong need for community, and also there is much more innovation than never has happened before, because there are new inhabitants, new way of inhabiting the villages, and the possible construction of new relationship with nature, and also new ways of being together. Okay. We know that the precondition is to strengthen the cooperation in the village. How to do this? How to move all together to become a community, as we said before, an open circle. The By Hospitality card is a helpful guide. I hope that you could find the time to read it, or you will find also in the action of the villages we are going to go through now. So many villages of Italy, in particular the ones that joined the project Hospitable Community, have created tourist proposals centered on experience to be lived firsthand. Okay, let's start with the first one. The first one I would like to talk you, and of course, feel free to ask any question about, is about a little village. It has not so many inhabitants, 1,000 inhabitants, in Sardinia. Sardinia is an Italian island, I think. You know, I didn't insert maps in this description, but we could easily go on Google Maps to see the exact position if you would like. So Masulas is a real little village, and it's in a beautiful place, in a park, the geological park of Monte Arci, and it has a very interesting geological history. In a convent of Capuchin friars, it has been established the Geomuseum of Monte Arci. That is a unique scientific center. And in this museum, it was the first time that the history of Sardinia, the geological one, was reconstructed. And it's very important, the geological history of Sardinia, because from the geological history derives the naturalistic and landscape beauties of Sardinia. Sardinia is world famous for the beaches, but the real discovery are the inland part, the little villages, and also the authentic Sardinia is not on the coast, because the story of Sardinian people is always connected to the internal part. So what's in Masula's interesting? When you are in a village, you have to find the unicity. What has the unicity in Masula? It is the Conca Canas, that is the largest obsidian deposit in the Mediterranean. I don't know, obsidian is a volcanic glass, so we call it the black gold, because it was considered magic from a point of view in the Neolithical times, and protective against the demons, and also used to produce objects, jewelry, and weapons. Today, it was first very known for in the crystal therapy, so in the New Age ambience, but it has become world famous because of a Game of Thrones, you know. This is obsidian, because in Game of Thrones, I know there are some experts of Game of Thrones, sure better than me. Ioannis, I think, is an expert of Game of Thrones, but they use obsidian to kill the strangers, quite like zombies in the story. So the interesting thing is that here you can see something that these images, why I choose these ones, because they are characteristics of any kind of village. So typical costumes, the land, the green, the beauty of the landscape, and the village, okay? Also, what I wrote in this phrase could be a characteristic of many villages, of many areas. In particular, in Sardinia, they are very faithful to the traditions, and they succeed in passing them to the younger generation. Not everywhere, of course, as you know, but they really succeed in passing the tradition. Simone, I saw that there are some questions in the chat. If you could see if there are questions, please let me say until you are with us today. Thank you. Okay, so what has been done in Masulas? In Masula, a youth cooperative offers an experience workshop that is unique, and it regards the cutting of the obsidian, and also always inside the area that has very beautiful, strange rocks, so you could build roots, very interesting roots, and also a yoga course. Of course, the visit to the park related to the Game of Thrones spreads of the Obsidiana name, the park has had a great success. So they had to face a little kind of over tourism, you know, because people go there and take off obsidiana to take home. So they had to give restricted rules about this. Of course, there are old buildings that have come to a new life with these visit routes, but they also need accommodation. So what is a very important action that has been done in Sardinia with regional funds? They create the scattered hotel. You have talked about this when it has been illustrated, the activity of BAI. The scattered hotel in Masulas is located in 3 different houses: the Bishop House, Sepulveda Palace, and Casa Cao. They have been recovered, as you see, in full respect of the local traditional architecture. And that's really very interesting and for who visit the place. So why start with this case history? Because as regards your activity in your villages, this suggests that often is enough to realize the resources and the productive culture of the territory. You see, this is a typical example. Until some years ago, there was, the community really underestimate the value of obsidiana. Really, I know about these because I'm fond of crystals and stones. But many times I ask my Sardinian friends, do you know this place? And nobody knows it. So we talk about these. Sometimes the community underestimate something that could be a selling proposition, talking in a marketing language, you know. So you have to understand which ones of these elements could become the central one, now for a pilot action, for example. To give birth to projects for the enhancement and quality of tradition, vocation, and local characteristics, and also to create a new employment. Okay. So this was a quite simple example, okay. Of course, they have realized some activities, interesting activities, and also this kind of activities could give trust to people and start to do something else. Now I would like to talk to you about this other very, very interesting experience that is in Puglia, in the south of Italy. I think you know where it is. It's not so far from you. And the village is Bicari. This is a real incredible story about what a village could do to become famous in Italy, also without the obsidiana, you know, without something that's unique in the Mediterranean area. So, have you maybe some questions about what we saw? Control. Oh, wow. Admire, you're a collector of mineral. Okay. Johan is just a viewer, yes. But sure, better than me. I remember that you said about Game of Thrones, you know. But it's very interesting, the influence that what we call movie-inducted tourism could affect, I say affect, a place, okay, you know, also about Game of Thrones, what happened, the overtourism about the place. 2 days ago, when I go through the Ossidiana to check some photos, I found the photo of the place where in Game of Thrones, it is the Obsidiana Center, no? And when I saw this photo, it's an island, quite an island with a bridge, no? Very suggestive. And I discovered that this place exists. And it's in Escadi, it's in Spain, in this area, and it is a monastery, and it was wonderful. And nobody knows this place, only people, walkers and bikers, almost of all. And in 2019, they had 75,000 visitors. It's really incredible. And also little fiction, okay, can give a real help to places like villages in Italy, but I also think in your areas, there are, okay, I'm just continue to read you. Oh, and Marianna also said, this happens always when a place is used as screen in movies like Matera, for instance. Matera case is very, very interesting. I'm a fan of tourism, you already know, but I'm also a fan of movies, so we could talk about this for much more than 3 hours. But it's interesting because it's very important, the role of the film commission in the place. Because, of course, the place becomes very famous, but you need that someone could create, I could say also, a community vision to promote the place after the movie. For example, now the new James Bond film that is also filmed in Matera, we are expecting this, but of course it has been stopped by the COVID. The incredible story, I only told you this, it's that, wow, great, yes, film office, that is what I call film commission. Yes, it's very important, Mariana, really, for everyone. For example, in the James Bond film, there is another little place that is Sapri, that is in Campania. In the movie, they changed the name of the place because maybe the film commission, as it was maybe in another region, they obviously said, okay, let's call the place in another way. So the return of image should not be so much for this place, for Sapri. Okay, let's close this. And Admire, you're a collector of minerals and crystal. Can you send me some mineral? If I could go in Sardinia to take obsidiana, I would like to do this. After our stop, I let you see one of my favorite mineral. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So thank you for your questions. Okay. Thank you very much. For example, we had some short movies very connected with the nature. For example, one little films in an area that is not very famous, but what is important is the story that has been told. And this story led the tourist in the place to find not only, of course, to find the atmosphere they saw in the film, but also to find the places. There are also very famous cases about this in Emilia-Romagna, you know. Old films, and people also would like to show the place, for example. So the place, so the atmosphere, know something. It's very important that we give this information to tourists, to people. Although they should be deluded about this. No? If I come in a place to visit and I didn't find what I expected, it's kind of, it's frustrating. Unless you give them something else that is much more interesting. Okay, let's see Bicari. Very interesting, very, very much. So, experiential workshop involving visitors in production of objects or typical recipes, in doing rather than seeing. These are very attractive elements of the tourist offer of the village. Okay. Let's see what happened. Okay, Bicari, 2,800 inhabitants. It's in an hilly position. It has a beautiful landscape and is in the province of Foggia, near the south, the sub-Apennine Dauno. Okay. This is the photo of the village. Okay. We already said this. It's, I like to use this kind of photos that quite are like stereotypical photos. The village, the costumes, the event, you know, but also the historical building, the landscape. But what is very interesting for me in this place, okay, is the developing of ideas. The citizens together identify the needs they can satisfy for people, also resident and also tourists, and build a path, a response path, consistent with the resources they had in the area. First example is the community cooperative. The community cooperative represents a model. This is a community cooperative Bicari, represent a special model of social aggregation, capable of building responses shared by citizens to collective needs, making their creativity, skills, and know-how available. It is a project characterized by strong social innovation and based on sharing. Now you'll see what these young people has done in this village. Okay, let's start with a special kind of accommodation. So they realized houses on trees. They create the atoms, they call these the atoms. That is a suspended tent in the trees. Now in this photo, you can see that some houses have the tree inside. Okay. And the activities, a special walking created for tourists, but also for residents. That's very interesting. Then they create the first bubble in Italy. It was an international project. I think you already saw the bubble. Now they are quite famous. There is a way to sleep in a place in nature, almost in nature, having a wonderful vision of the surroundings. The first one that was made in Italy, it was created in Vicari. So what this does mean about a communication point of view? If it's a question I'm asking you, if in your area you could be the first one to create a bubble, consider this possibility, what does it mean from a communication point of view? What you could do communicating with this kind of activity? Okay. Oh, Ioannis made a questions about tree houses inside the forest. I know that there are the cooperative that works in this area to protect the forest. So I think they could have the permission, and also, of course, these are not permanent structures, you know. In Italy, we have much more of these experience, also in adventure parks. Because I have also the, no, I haven't it. I was going to show you the Donia Park Adventure. That is the park where they do this kind of activities. Ioannis, you ask these questions because you know that in your place it's not possible. Just about the current legislation. Okay. Okay. Yes. For example, in my activity, we are not allowed in the place where I work, that is in Cilento, to do this kind of things. We could have a path, of course, wooden path, but not this kind of, we couldn't build out tree houses. But you know that in Italy, the legislation is about these is regional. So it's different from each region. That's what I could say to you. Okay. Thank you very much for your question. They help me not only to answer, but to make me some other questions about, yes. Because, for example, in my activity, we are also very worried about the security of people. And in my activity, we have a lot of children, so we didn't try to do this kind. Then, from my personal point of view, I do not like so much. Admire, in my town, the village of Oishevia, several villagers started a company with wooden houses for tourists. Great, great. For example, I like the 3 wooden houses. What about the bubbles? What's your opinion about the bubbles? Your general opinion. You would like to sleep in a bubble? You would prefer to sleep in a wooden house? You think that the bubble could be ecological way of experience the place? Also, you could, I already said I prefer wooden houses, you know. I prefer to sleep in a tent. Yes, come to visit me in Cilento, Mariana. I wait for you and then I come back to you. So yes, it's simple, you know. But what I was asking before is about this little village and about the bubble tent. Because from a communication point of view, maybe you could imagine what happened, but not perfectly, I think, because this bubble tent, the first one in Italy, became very, very famous. So from this kind point of view, they found something that they have done in a very respectful way, okay? But they found the new, because the problem, for example, with journalists or bloggers, nowadays bloggers, but journalists, they can't write about you if you do not have the news. This is when in a lesson about how to write a press trip or a press news, a press invitation or something like this. The main point is, if you do not have the news, don't write it, because it's of no interest. They succeed in having the name of Vicari on every newspaper, Italian newspaper, big Italian newspaper. Then what they do, they send an invitation to journalists and bloggers, please come and leave our forest, live in our tree houses and experience what it is, the bubble, okay? From a communication point of view, it was fantastic. It depends on what kind of guests we want to attract, of course. Yes, that's real in general. As regards what I'm saying now, if you find your place in a newspaper like Corriere Repubblica in Italy, the day after, the phone rings. I worked for Repubblica, and when I wrote about the place or a small hotel, after a week, they had a lot of bookings. Of course, the newspaper power is not as it was 5-6 years ago, of course. Bloggers have become very, very important, of course. And also, it could be important to choose the communication media that are in line with your village, with your experience. But if you had the opportunity to be on this kind of newspaper, then if your product is well designed, that's very interesting, Ivan. If your product is well designed, it's your product that chooses the guest. So if 1,000 people read about this, they say 3 houses. Oh no, not at all. Now let's continue, because I read all the, okay, yes, I read all the questions, because something could be answered also to your questions. Okay. Oh. As we talk about this, I go further for a moment. So they could, with this kind of experience with newspaper, they were able to storytell the place, and they concentrate all together in finding news, interesting news. The first one was Sleep Under the Stars, and it was the bubble. Then they became famous in Italy because they had a fantastic idea, a surprising one. They had many buildings that need a restoration, but nobody was able in the village to do this. So they promote that they were selling houses in the village from €1. This news became so famous immediately. Everyone in the chat, on the newspaper, talks about this. Of course, they had houses from €1 to 10,000 euros, 20,000 euros. And they create on their site, wait, if I could let you see this. I think it's this one. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm up to. Okay. I would like to let you see the page. Do you see the page? Okay. So in the home page, Discover Bicari, I hope you're seeing this. See the available houses in Bicari. With this project, we want to show you houses sold in the town, okay? So they do not only create the news, but the idea was really to have new residents. So this was, for me, in my opinion, a real interesting idea, a very brainstorming one. This idea could come only from the community. And you see, after this icebreak idea, many villages in Italy start to do campaign like this one. Then, for example, they create another very interesting idea. Okay, for 2 persons, let's go and come to Bicari to experience our village life for 1 month and for free. The first idea, it cost, because the bubble project costs. But the second one and the third one do not have a cost, so important cost. So when we talk, when we think about a pilot idea, it could be something that do not cost so much, okay? Then you know that usually the main cost to promote a place are in the promotion cost. With an interesting, unique idea, the promotion could be done from bloggers or from journalists, okay? In fact, the second idea, your house in Bicari from €1, helps you to get in contact with journalists. For the first time, journalists wrote about you, and could you call them? And the second time you have an interesting idea, although maybe it's not so incredible as the second one, they wrote about you. Ask me if you need more explanation. I get back to food as, wait a minute. I saw a message from Simone, but okay, okay. Perfect, okay, okay. Thank you, Simone. Okay, so this is very interesting activity. You could read this, I read it for you. A small group of young people recovered a few hectares of their parents' land, sowing ancient grains and cultivating well according to a rigid disciplinary to guarantee a raw material free of mycotoxin and pesticides. The group turned to an artisan mill to transform into semolina, cold and in small quantities at a time. So they turned to a pasta factory that produced different shape of dry pasta with bronze drawing. That is the way we do pasta. The best pasta in Italy is with bronze drawing, and slow drying at temperatures that never exceed 45 degrees. Simply, this is the best way to do pasta. Now they make their own pasta, shortening the production chain and reducing the ecological impact also in terms of transport. In recent years, ancient grains in Italy become very famous because these grains disappeared. Okay, and so it is a real return to the tradition. So these young people started like this, and then they had this Sussex, and not all their pasta, but their rigatoni, that is this kind of pasta. And they were declared awarded of this prize from the Gambero Rosso, that is one of the best known food and wine magazine in Italy, specialized in food. So this was a big result, and this is not only a result from a selling point of view, from a commercial point of view, but the name of Bicari, that it's always, sorry, it's a little slow. Bicari is always this place. It's a village. As the many, many villages we have in Italy, but starting from little action, all together, they create this. And you see, for me, this is a demonstration, this is a testify that if you start with a good action, with a pilot action that is simple, not so costly, and could be successful, giving money also to the people, money and employment, the trust grows in the place, because it's a continuous work that really never stop, okay? Because also people who were skeptical about this change their idea, become proud about the place. So, other storytelling suggestion. If you would like, think about what they could also do in Bicari, no? And to think about other action you could do in Bicari is to think about, of course, which other action you can do and suggest and think about them in your areas, in your place. So, when you become creative, you become more and more creative. I told you in a slide about the storytelling, that it becomes a second nature, what I could do. So they create this that you could do in your villages. It's a great idea, very simple. When I heard the stories about Bicari as a tourist, a possible tourist, and I go to their sites, I found that there is this small school of peasant civilization. All the courses in the school are for free, because you have to go to Bicari to enjoy them. So this school, it's in an old building, of course, and it's a space where they help you to learn something that disappear, some activities that disappeared, small country jobs, ancient crafts, local craftsmanship techniques, typical dishes, history of places, importance of tradition and country culture, dialectal languages, popular music, and any form of art and free expression of belonging to one's own land. We saw that this could be done in a route, okay? You could insert in a route and experience. People could taste typical dishes, but if we stay in the mindset of doing rather than seeing, it's very interesting for people to try to cook a typical dish, to learn together with the people from the community which are the typical dish and try to do one of them. So the idea, you could do in any way you want. The idea was, let's create a small school. We have some laboratories, and in some dates we decided when, and this is also a great way to involve the local people. Then this was, have you some experience of this in your place before going to the incentive money? Okay, about these, I saw there are 2 chats, okay. Who owns the houses that are sold for €1 even? People from the place. For example, I'll give you a very far example. In New York, the Bronx, that I think you already know, thanks to the films. At one point, the houses was in a terrible state of decay. They were very awful. There was also drugs, places, and so on. That the New York government told to the owner, you had to restore your buildings, although the New York government will buy them for $1 each. And the owner of the Bronx sold them to the New York government. This is a story that is has been told in an Italian book from Marianella Sclavi, that the title is The Lady Goes to Bronx, because it costed much more to the people who own these houses to pay for taxes, because you had to pay taxes about the house. They are uninhabited, they already have another house, so some of these houses represent only a cost for them. So the decision was what we could do. I was not present at this meeting, of course, but I think we can together identify the reasons. Okay, we have these houses. We do not want to spend money on them, but we have to pay taxes. So we are not anymore interested in having them. So we say, okay, let's sell to someone. We have in Italy many situations in which in many places there are abandoned houses. I don't know what's the name from a law point of view of usucapione, that it means that after 20 years you live in an house and there's not an owner that says, this is my house, you can stay there. The house became yours. I don't know if also in your areas there is this law. I think yes, I think it's like this. So the houses, of course, were owned by people from the village. Okay. Valeria, welcome. So let's, if you have always other questions, please feel free to ask. So what I was going to ask you was, what other kind of ideas you could create for your place? I hope that it's easy for you to join together the concept, okay? What are the main characteristic, interesting element of the place, or the elements that could become interesting for a tourist, for a temporary resident, okay? And the action you can do. As in Bicari, they do not stop thinking, and they add these other very interesting, according to me, idea. That is the BIC. They also joke about the initials of Bicari. No? BIC is a community incentive, we could say money. Okay, so you have a green experience in Bicari with food, with nature, with accommodation. And you could pay for them with a BIC. That is a money, okay. It's a coupon, you know, a discount. But it has been made in a very interesting way. You know that I always told you, please remember the questions when you're writing, when you would story tell your place. So, what? BIC, Bicari incentive coupon, community incentive money. So, BICs are vouchers issued by the municipality and valid only in the territory of Bicari. Why I go in deeper? Because you could say, okay, let's create a discount. You come to my accommodation and you have a discount. But if you want to, that this became a really communication item, you have to think a lot about this, because you had to understand why are you doing this, and also transmit to people what is this and why are you doing this, who and for whom. Always the same questions of Kipling. So these are vouchers. They are available to guests free of charge for drinks, lunches, dinners, overnight stays, okay? They decided to create 3 kinds of these vouchers, from 5, 10, and 20 euros. But they explain on their site these also to the municipality, to the inhabitants, to the community. Why we are doing this? We are doing this motive guests and tourists to choose the most convenient Bicari activities thanks to these discount coupons. Of course, you should think about this. The period in June until a date of June every year. That's obviously, you know that in tourists, it's very important to have early booking, so you could know if you should invest in promotion or not, and you could have also an idea on what the season could be. Then to give local operators the opportunity to have more customers through subsequent uses to support the local economy and keep, pay attention to this, keep these resources in Bicari. We would go in deeper to what this means. Moreover, to strengthen the sense of community and collaboration through mutual help, where internal consumption and the commercial, artisanal, and productive activities of one's fellow citizens are privileged. That's what is written on the site. Everyone could read it. Then, also on the site, they use the questions method. On the site, you'll find these questions. Can they be combined? Yes. And this is who collect the BIC, all the venues that other post the notice we accept BIC in their premises. Then what I would say, it's one of the most important characteristics of these is that these coupons are to be reused in the village at other venues. So the people from the community that received the BIC are supposed to spend them in the village. That is, keep the resources in Bicari, as we saw in this former slide. So there is an expiry date, and you will be able to convert them into euros at the terminal. So just to say, who can use them? All guests and tourists not resident who are not residents in Bicari for one time until exhaustion. And these are, of course, the activities that accept BICs. But this is the slide I like the most. According to me, this is a real interesting method of communicating, because you heard about the BIC on a newspaper, on a blogger, from a friend. You go on the site, you have all the information regarding BIC, but also you could know from where the other people asked for BIC. I ask you a question if you want to go in deeper about this, because according to me, it's interesting, because it's not obvious. It's clear that I told you what are those things, why to use them, how to use them. But it's interesting that I let you know which others asked and from which places asked for BICs. What do you think could be the reason to let people know which others are the tourists, from where they come? Okay, if you got an idea. For me, this is really different from many others experience I saw in the storytelling of a product. No one? Ivan, come on. Marianna, every one of you. Okay, just you know that I become very passionate about communication thing. This is very interesting. Mariana also comes to the video. Thank you. I change my question in an easy way. What do you think could be the feeling of a person who comes on the site and saw this map? If you can't imagine the feeling of someone else, when you saw this map, what could you think about this? It's a map that say to me, these people from these parts of Italy asked for a voucher to stay in this little village. It's a difficult question. So difficult, yes. What do you feel? Maybe you don't feel nothing. It's not interesting. It could be, you know. But for example, for me, if I lived in a place that's not Italy, and I saw that only one person from München asked for them, I would say to myself, I want to ask for them. So maybe in Greece, I will be the only one to ask for a voucher in Bicari. Maybe you do not agree with me, and this is could be very interesting, of course, you know. But I think that from a marketing point of view, the idea is I would like to be one of them. They are not so much, they are few. Also, at this moment, when you arrive on the site, they say, sorry, our bigs are ended. And so I think this could be a real interesting for a little village. We are always talking about a little village. This could be interesting to give to people a view of how many persons could be interested in the village. I can say that, oh, yes. You say to me, yes, but you don't look at the chat. We say something. Okay. I'm not sure. Inner Italia, yes. They tell us what our market is and where we need to advertise the offer. This is a real marketing, Admir, a real marketing vision. Admir, yes. This is a real marketing vision. Thank you, Admir. That's very interesting. But of course, this is interesting also if you do not publish the map, okay? It's important that you have this kind of data. It is right, Mariana, that's what I feel. It is an experience that you want to live. That's what I feel, you know. I had the occasion to go to Bicari for the buy first, but I couldn't. But it's really something that I would experience. Perhaps, Ioannis, thank you very much, you feel for a while like a temporary citizen. Yes, yes, because I'm on the map. It's me. I do look at this and I look and say, okay, in Torino, in Turin, it's me. But how you obtain the bigs, you ask, Mariana asked, how you obtain the bigs, you wrote and asked for them. But very simple, very simple. You see, any kind of this action could be much more marketing oriented, could be much more developed. For example, you could use the social media, but if you want to keep it simple, but the idea, according to me, it's interesting. It's also very good to do like this. And what you earn from using the BICs, I mean, you get better prices instead of using euros. Oh, you know, the BIC is a discount. So if you go and spend 2,000 euros for 3 days in an accommodation, you give a BIC and you only spend 2,080, for example, 280, sorry. It's quite like a simple discount. This is the interesting thing, because it's only a discount that you could promote only as a discount. You could have 10 euro discount, but creating a kind of money, that's another way in which people feel themselves to be a citizen, a temporary citizen. And also this kind of experience has been created in many places in Italy. For example, it's just a sad example, but at the beginning with the COVID, in some villages do not arrive money, do not arrive funds. So some of those villages create a temporary money to help themselves in the village. It was an interesting experience that was born from the community, from the municipalities. It was really helpful for people. It was in the beginning of the COVID system. So I hope not to annoy you so much. Sorry. Okay. Why is doing like this? Sorry, I can't let you see. Right. Okay. Okay. My slide disappeared, but I know that I'm going to give you quite a break. So, our practical tips. I think that this kind of case history, what do you think about, wrote me about this, please, while I'm talking, if it's interesting, if you think that this village has done a lot or not. So I think that's very interesting to understand how they design the stories, because they put together visual, insightful, inspiring, and also controlled, as you saw in the BIC. Because sometimes you had a great idea and sometimes it functions immediately and you're not too prepared to control it. It's quite what we said before. When a film talk about you, in a film, the name of your village is being given as the synonym of paradise. You see, in the next week, a lot of people call you, and you don't know why at the beginning. Why are you calling me? And so this kind of elements of storytelling, of the story of a village, of the promotion of a village, had to be controlled. If they are well designed, this could be much easier. So what are you looking at is very interesting for me. It's a storytelling Canva, and it helps you to write the story or to recognize in a story the main elements, the main points. So I would like to have you work on this after these case histories we went through, but also I would like that you use this with a teamwork. I don't know now if the colleague of Simone could help us, because he is not with us at the moment, to do this work with the Jamboard. I use the Jamboard we have done before. So if you connect to the Jamboard, the last Jamboard, I don't know if you can. Minute. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Please resist. Okay. This was the last Jamboard we had. Okay. You're looking at this. I hope so. If you remember, okay, every group made the job, the work about the empathy map, and then wrote a story, tell a story about. Someone had enough time to do this, okay, but never mind. What I ask you now, if we could, maybe we have a 10-minute break, so I could talk for the creation of groups, if we can, okay. And two, using this canvas, I'm sorry, it's really, the characters are very little, but I hope you can read them, okay? Check if the story, or rewrote the story, using these elements, controlling or creating the story with the answer to this element. So you could see, you could have an instrument that could help you in telling the story, in checking the story, and also in understanding if a story that you read is telling you everything about the place, everything you need to know about the place. I only check if we have one for group. Who would arrive to group C? It would be interesting to translate this. Okay. And also who could have the group D? Okay. So I think that the group will change, and this could be very useful. So you work on something you hadn't worked before. Okay. I was clear in explaining. I hope so. Okay. So it's 11. Let's have 10 minutes so I could talk with Bai to help me to create the groups. I hope we could do this, although we will do all together, but I would like to have a teamwork also today. Thank you. 10 minutes for you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I hope you had a good coffee. I had a postman, incredible. It arrived. Wow, me too. A big one, like Americans. So, okay. Okay, here we are. Perfect. So, I think you are in the rooms. Okay, perfetto. Thank you, Natalia. Okay. I hope that now we could be able Thank you, Natalia. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, so you could enter the rooms. I give you the Jamboard screening. Minutes. Okay. Ok, non intendo condividere. Ok. Ok. Tina. Tina already worked on the Jamboard. Okay, you need to have a coffee. Okay. So. You also the Jamboard? Okay. I hope that you're divided in groups, but at the moment I can't enter the group, so there should be some problem. Let me see.
Если бы Буковинка решила поменять это на видео.
predlaga. Sad je dobro napisano, samo vas prosto ako možete malo lepše zaslikati, jer mi se baš ovo gore ne vide. Ja. Sad, ja.
Oh, mm. Okay. 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 Allora, il gruppo A, ok, A, perfetto. Ok. Perfetto. Gruppo A, return. Very good. Ok. Gruppo B. History. Data. Ok. Action. You can do. Ok? Ok. Mm. Ok. Allora, vediamo un po'. So, il gruppo A. About the Eden Paradise. Quindi A. Paradise. Ok. Eccoci tourists. Ottimo lavoro sull'audience. Ok. Il B, tell. Ok. The after. Okay. Hi, everyone. So let's see what you have done. I saw all you have done. I have something to say that I hope this could be helpful for everyone. So I get back to our Jamboard. Okay. Hi. Okay. So see you. Let's start from the first group with Tina. You are talking, or Barbara?
Yes, we didn't
Sorry.
Okay. Only to tell you something.
Yes.
So I like the use of the word paradise, for example. It's correct. All the groups have done the job in the good way. I'm happy it has been understood what to do. So make your point, okay? What is your call to? This is it, this is what I want, I'm breathing freely. Yeah, it's very interesting, the subjective forms. There is empathy with a person. It demonstrates empathy with a person. Okay, what also it's very good is to have a focused goal, not to attract tourists, but eco-tourists. So a particular segment of tourists, very interesting, okay? And also I notice the to feel welcome and to return. That's also other groups say that, and it's very good. Thank you, Tina. You want to say something about?
No, it was good working with the Barbara, so we get through the table and
it looks like a good cooperation work. Thank
yes,
you.
it was.
Thank you very much. Listen also to the other groups that are very interesting things to see. So the group B, the group B wrote these perfect things. In the after, tell colleagues, friends, and family. Very, very, very good. This is not only the after in the thinking, in the feeling, but also in the empathy map. Okay, what he says to other people. Very interesting. Okay, person relation, nature, tourist, maybe it's a little wide as, but it is more focused here, working in stressful environment, businessmen, doctors, teachers, and so on. How can nature help the businessman? Good to have questions always involved in your maps. And have a break, charge your batteries. Very good. Okay. Do you want to say something? Do you have something to point out? Okay. It was a very good job. Okay. Then, very interesting in group C, two elements. One is the use of data, of numbers, that it's interesting because figures appeals to the logic. So for many people are very interesting. I don't know if there is someone who wanted to speak for the group C. Okay, tell me if you want to say something. Maybe there are some, okay. Oh, okay, sorry, yes, group C, okay. But I want to say this about numbers and about anecdotes, stories. Okay. Wait, group D, group C, I arrive later. Okay. The D group, I wrote action you can do, where I found them, okay. Yes, also the audience, well defined, not only as a type, but also as needs. Very, very good, group D. New experience and knowledge. Very good. Gain a real experience. Ah, yes, that's why I wrote action you can do. Because in the after, it's very interesting if you notice what could happen after the story. You'll get an audience that will more appreciate the wine dresser, the nature, and they will know how to recognize quality wine. So from here, from your collective after, you could start to propose a new action. So you could wrote an email, or wrote on your Facebook, contacted the person who already has been in the place and suggest them that they can become a village recognized sommelier, for example. Would be a very good idea, very interesting for a person. And now, okay, the God story, very interesting also this one, because it's very interesting, the scene, where you set the scene. And of course, the before, the people visiting, but here I found immediately one of the 5 topics, because it's very interesting with the work of this group, that the audience is not only a faraway audience, but also the young people living in Copper area. Please focus on the people of the area when you're designing or thinking about an activity and telling the activity. Always involve a part of the people living there. They learn something new, they created a long life memory, they reached nirvana. It's wonderful, thank you. Okay, very, very good. I think that doing it in practice gives you a wider understanding of what creating a product and telling it, to valorize it, is very important. It's a real way to make connection. Okay, as always, the teamwork, thank you so much, because they give me the opportunity to specify much more the content I want to pass it to you. Okay, so you saw a little checklist. I didn't told this you before, but it's very good. You use these fact, figures, some anecdotes could give personality to the story. The examples are very good. Okay, they are halfway between facts and anecdotes. It brings clarity. Okay, comparison could be, okay, give something that could make the people enthusiastic. If you are enthusiastic about something, it's easy to pass this in an emotional way. Remember that it is always difficult to write about emotion, but if you feel them, you have an insightful view, you could pass the insightful elements to others. And then the one main point you want to make with your story. Don't forget this, because sometimes we get in love with the story and forget why we are telling this story, which is the point we need to make. So, another little place that is Moliterno, that is in Basilicata, just to let you see in one slide, we have 4 themes: taste, explore, live, and tell. So each hospitable community has a website with these 4 themes to make you feel as a temporary citizen. But sometimes you have something that you don't expect in a village. In this village that I choose to tell you about, there is a famous cheese, a very famous cheese, but, and could be, seems incredible, there is an articulated museum system, 6 museums constantly evolving and leaving a mark of culture and love for the territory, topophilia I called before. It's very, very interesting. In about 4,000 inhabitants in a little village, there is this museum circuit, and it is the result of the initiative of this professor, Mr. Aiello, who is a passionate collector of works of art. But he decided to do this with the cooperation of the community. So this is very interesting. These are the names of the museum. One is an house, then a palace with a museum, very important, another with ceramic, another with contemporary art, and the library that has at the third floor, there is a collection of rare books about the Grand Tour. So very interesting from a touristic point of view. Okay, we are at the end, quite at the end. The difference to work with a community, I told you a short story. I write this for Focus Point. Bullying Alone is a famous book about the social capital that says you can't play bowling alone, you need the others. So there is this story in Italy of a little village that had some fishing activities, and there was only one shop in the village. The shop closed, and an entrepreneur said to himself, wow, we didn't have anymore the only cooperative aggregative point in the village. So all alone, he reopened a bar and a little restaurant. Then he created an accommodation. Then he created routes and itineraries. Then with his restaurant that has only 6 tables, won a restaurant competition. But this restaurant competition was created a difficult situation for these restaurants, because in the mixing of the images, the owner of the restaurants in the competition appeared as an awful person. So he has had a lot of terrible, terrible publicity, okay, advertising, and negative advertising on bookings, on TripAdvisor, and so on. And this creates a real difficult situation. I met this person 15 days ago, 20 days ago. And as I was doing this job with you, I reflected about this, and I understand that she was alone, because the community wasn't so much involved in the action. That is the reason why you are central to the activity. The creation, the work with the community, the bottom-up experience could really help in involving all the people. And when things could get worse, the community will help you, give you, sustain you, help you, stay with you also in the difficult moments. Okay. The last one is only to say you hello, see you again next days. And it's a part of, I like very much Wisława Szymborska, the Polish poet. And this is a piece of this poem that is, the name is Conversation with the Stones. And I we do not have, I don't want to read this, please read by yourself. But she talks about a human who knocks at a stone door. So I interpret this in humans that knocks at the nature, okay? And at the end, it says, no, you shall not enter, says the stone. You lack the sense of taking part. No other sense can make up for your missing sense of taking part. Even sight, aching to become all seeing, will do you no good without a sense of taking part. You shall not enter. You only have a sense of what that sense should be. Only it seeds, imagination. So, and this is very emotional for me, because I feel myself in taking part with a relation, with the nature, with the places. But I can't be part if I'm not going to take part, to stay in cooperation with others. So very philosophical end today, you know. Okay. Be prepared for SWOT days, the SWOT analysis that you have to work. We will have groups for every area, and you will work on the SWOT analysis. I would like to help you as much as possible in doing this, yes, and give you also some more specification. I will work on this in these days, okay? So thank you as always. Have a nice day. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.